Hello, my friends. Welcome to the latest Mermaid Mystic Magic video. If you're on YouTube or Substack, wherever you are, welcome. We are doing a full moon in Capricorn reading. Let's see what's coming up for you this full moon. So full moons are like superpowers. You'll read a lot of different things about the full moon. Different traditions and different practices have different relationships with the full moon. So some people see the full moons as great time to cleanse and release. Other people see them as just very powerful times to do any kind of spell working. And because the full moon is all of this light that shines in the darkness, so brings up all of these things that we've maybe tucked away, it's also a great time for divination, for readings. So wherever you're at, I've kind of incorporated all of this. So I've pulled cards to see what are the main themes we're exploring as a collective right now. What can we release? What is this full moon showing us what we can let go of? Also, what do we want to call in? What are we meant to nurture and grow to fullness? And then what bright future are we creating through this? As always with readings for the collective, some's going to resonate more with others. Some things are going to resonate a lot, not so much for others. Just take what works, leave the rest. Okay, my friends. So the main things coming up this full moon in Capricorn, we got the Four of Swords, we got the Queen of Wands, and we got the rune Uruz. There we go, Uruz. So the Four of Swords is a card of rest. So that might just be how some people are feeling, a desire to take it easy. But the Four of Swords isn't necessarily taking easy in terms of checking out. The Four of Swords is finding mental peace and harmony. So the figure here, we can see their eyes are closed. There's this rainbow and stars overhead. So the Four of Swords is really, I like to think of the Four of Swords as making space. So it's where you go for a walk in nature and you're not on your phone or listening to music. You're just walking free of distractions and enjoying being in nature. There's that great line from Albert Einstein who says, I try and try to fix a problem and I can't figure it out. I go for a walk and the answer comes. That's a bit of that Four of Swords. Now, the Four of Swords also reminds us that we need to retract. We need to go within. We need to rest. We live in a world that tries to push like 24/7 productivity, more, right? And the Four of Swords is like, okay, so just as there's nighttime, we need the night and the day. We need to breathe in, we need to breathe out. We need to be awake, we need to sleep. So we actually need to kind of think about the seasons in our lives as breathing to varying degrees. The Four of Swords reminds us that we need rest, actually, so we don't just move to excess and total burnout. So I would say themes of mental peace, stillness, receptivity, and harmony are themes coming up for the collective at this full moon. So we also get the Queen of Wands. I love the Queen of Wands. So other themes coming up for the collective at this time would be confidence, creativity, passion, healthy ambition, definitely the sunflowers are also joy. So the Queen of Wands here has this wand, the sunflower. Sunflower is confidence, abundance, shining our light. We got that little black cat. One of my favorite things I read about this little black cat, and I find this to be very true, is that the Queen of Wands is so bright, not because of the avoidance of the shadows, but the embracing of them, right? This person has successfully faced some shadows and turned them into gold, right? Alchemy styles. So at this time, the Queen of Wands is be thinking about you, like what makes you feel confident. The Queen of Wands is also very attractive. This person is super attractive, which doesn't have to mean physically attractive. It is their energy. You ever seen someone who's really good looking and you talk to them and they're kind of mean and you're like, well, you just got unhot. Or maybe you met someone who you wouldn't initially think of as good looking, but you get to know them and they're so interesting or kind or whatever, and they become very attractive. So think about the Queen of Wands not just as like the physical, but their energy is very alluring, very magnetic. And it comes from their authenticity and their confidence. They're not afraid to be themselves. They're not out there trying to super prove themselves. They just shine because they let themselves be themselves. They are also a person who is generous. Queens are masters of their suit and nurturers. So this queen is the master of fire because of wands, and therefore the nurturer. So this person isn't the type of person who can only shine bright if they snuff out your flame, right? We see plenty of that in the world. This is the person who wants to uplift others, wants other people to shine. They understand that the sky is beautiful, full of stars, not just one. So to me, so we have this full moon. So reflect for yourself where the themes of rest are coming up, and also confidence in your authenticity, joy in your uniqueness, and your ability to shine and help others shine as well. The rune with this is urus. So urus, I love urus. It's the rune of the aurochs, and aurochs are now extinct. They are said to be possible ancestors of the now domestic cattle, but they were wild. When you read about them, they are said to stand 6 feet tall and have these huge horns. When you read about urus and the aurochs in the Old English rune poem, which is where we get the information for the Elder Futhark rune set, what they all mean, it's like this mighty, like they speak of it as this wanderer of the moors. They speak of urus with actually what I think is a lot of respect for its ability to wander and its strength. So urus is also thought to possibly be a rite of passage, tests and challenges that we go through that actually take us to our next evolution of our being, whatever that is. So there's rest, but there's also initiation and rite of passage. Where am I going? With the theme of being your authentic self confidently. This is very good. And enjoying being yourself. The Queen of Wands is enjoying sharing their light. So Uru suggests that at this time, some tests, trials, and challenges may be coming up that are not meant to deter you, but are meant to be the tests and trials that take you to that Queen of Wands place. But you might need that Four of Swords space to let in those realizations, to know what they are. Oh my God, how fantastic. Okay, so we're gonna see, it's this full moon, we can let some things go. What are we letting go? Look at this, 10 of Wands. Oh, we've all been there. The Magician, very interesting. And the rune Raidu. Okay, so off the hop, my vibe with this was like less doing, less overworking, the importance of pausing instead of just always, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I got to do this. I got to do this thing. What other thing can I do? I need more. I got to do more things, right? Like the 10 of Wands is B is for burnout. There's this great quote from Brene Brown who says that if you don't want to be burned out, don't live like you're on fire. So the 10 of Wands here, 10 of Wands and as well 10 of Swords, I really have found them in my practice to be cycle breaking cards. So the 10 of Wands is suggesting that this is a period to break a cycle, full moon, perfect, of overwork and life feeling so heavy and so hard. And really, like, to me, the 10 of Wands does bring forward the lesson of working smarter and not harder. Like the way this person's carrying the wands, you know, like why didn't they ask someone to help them? Why didn't they do it in a couple of trips? There's this sense sometimes with the 10 of Wands where we want so much now, and the way that we do it actually probably wastes a lot of our energy. And the immediacy of our culture actually would have us miss out on a lot of growth and rewards that would actually come from taking our time with things and not needing, like, we need to have it all and do it all immediately, right? Raidu is moving forward, it's progress. So I really get the sense here we can release the heaviness of always needing to do everything ourselves to prove we're worth it. The only way I'm worth it is if I work day and night, right? This is not healthy. And the 10 of Wands is also asking, why do you feel you have to do it? Why do you feel like life should be heavy and hard, right? Like, certainly there are gonna be times in life that are heavy and hard, but life itself is like a gift. How do we embrace the gift and not make it so hard? So this would be, you know, the 10 of Wands is like, 10 of Wands also, the astrology here is Saturn in Sagittarius. So coming back to that energy of expansion, contraction, breath, we saw with that 4 of Swords. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet of expansion, but out of balance, it can lead to excess. So here we might be like, I want all these things. I want all these things. Saturn's like, yeah, you want to get it, but can you sustain it? Now, what does it look like? So we want to check in with the 10 of Wands here. More is not always better. And we want to learn the structures. Saturn is lessons and also structures and time. How do we use our time wisely to create a life that feels more sustainable and manageable instead of this? Okay. So the Magician is like snap, crackle, pop, manifestor, magic maker, alchemist. I'm gonna do it. Very resourceful, a very active energy. This is a great example of how there's no like good or bad cards. Because usually the magician, you'd be like, well, that's awesome. I'm like making things happen. I'm creating things. I'm using all of my tools. But remember, a theme at this time for this full moon is pausing to reflect on what we really need to do in order to awaken our Queen of Wands, our joyful confidence and like magnetic attraction. So this to me, releasing, I always have to do, and I have to do it all by myself, right? We're very conditioned to this. An individualistic society is actually easier to control, right? If we were to all work together, we wouldn't even have to work as much because we wouldn't need money as much. If you had communities where more people were growing food and communities were sharing things like tools and lawnmowers, then all of a sudden you don't need everyone working to have so many things. When you bring people together, someone's looking after the kids. Oh, now I don't need to pay for daycare. Now I don't need to work so much. So we can see how keeping things very individualistic is another way to keep us kind of controlled and contained. We have more freedom and we're less controllable. We work together. So that's a message there of that 10 of Wands, removing the illusion that doing everything by yourself is one, even true. Nothing really great ever happens in isolation. And two, that there's some kind of moral superiority to doing everything yourself. Humans are meant to be a collective. And when we embrace that, we can release that 10 of Wands, so much heaviness, so burden. Okay, so now what to nurture? What to nurture? 7 of Cups and Judgment. And the rune is Aiwas. So 7 of Cups normally is a card of indecision. You're like, like I could do this thing, I could do that thing. What do I do? What do I do? I've got these great ideas, but I'm not sure if they're going to work out. And so we go like, blah, 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 we spin our wheels and we never take action. And then we get stuck in la la land and kind of gets a bit anxious. So however, once again, no good or bad tarot cards. Well, I guess they're all good because they all have medicine and guidance. To me, when I saw the 7 of Cups, it was like, so if we need the 4 of Swords and we need to release the constant doing and the constant accumulation, then this to me, the 7 of Cups is like, make room for dreaming. We want to make room. Like if we keep doing all the time, you can spend years doing it, right? You could just be spinning your wheels. So the 7 of Cups is like, make room for dreaming. Make room for the different options to come through to you. Because once you've got an idea of, I could actually go down that path. I hadn't thought about it because I hadn't given myself time to think. We give ourselves time to dream. You can start to dream of what's possible. And then you can make a choice. Then we can decide where to implement the action and the doing. Judgment is the call of our higher self, and it's waking us up from any areas of life in which we are sleepwalking. So I'm getting the sense this moon wants rest so that we stop sleepwalking, which is just doing, autopilot, doing, and then make room for dreaming, and you will get the call of your higher self through that, the guidance. You're going to wake up from sleepwalking. You're going to have the calling of your spirit that's like, this thing I must create, or I feel like I need to follow this path. Like you will get the clarity of the calling if you give yourself space for dreaming. Aiwas really strengthens this. I love this rune so much. This rune is the rune of the yew tree, YEW. And the yew tree can live for thousands of years. It's fascinating. When one part of it starts to die, another part is born. So it's this constant state of rebirth. Yew trees are also poisonous. Now, poison's an interesting concept because once again, you think like, oh, poison's just bad. Hold on. The dose makes the poison, right? So a little bit of poison, a little bit of challenge, a little bit of difficulty can actually give us a great deal of strength. The other thing, too much indulging or too much just like overworking could actually be a poison because it could work against us. So this concept of poison becomes very fascinating. Also different things, different substances that could be poisonous one way, but when prepared become medicine. So we can see here, Aiwas brings in the message of rebirth, but also paradoxes. And we need the space. The real sense I'm getting from this reading for everyone is space to have these realizations, to have our inner wisdom come through. If there's constant noise, if we're always on our phones, if we're always watching Netflix, if we're always working and doing, we don't give our receptive part of ourselves the space to receive our gorgeous inner wisdom, our guidance from our higher self and our spirit guides. Okay. And they've always got our backs. So this to me is this like, you need the space to have this rebirth. We want to We want to nurture rebirth. So we're going to let go of some of these old habits, these old beliefs, and we need space for the new to come through. The new needs some space. And let go of this idea that it's easy. Because if you think about birth, birth is actually very messy, right? It's messy. There's a lot of danger involved. So to me, there's also a sense of, I think there's a lot of lines floating around online that they're just too simplistic. They're catchy, and a part of us wants them to be true, but they're not actually capturing the whole picture. One such line, I think, is like, if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. This is far too polarized. There's plenty of things we don't want to do in our life, poison, that we have to do in order for the growth that we want, right? There's lots of things that we have to face. I don't really want to do it. Well, it's good for you, so do it. It's just part of being human. We can shift the view of it, right? The paradox. Instead of being like, I hate this, we can examine, is there just a different way to look at this so that I can do the thing that needs to be done that's actually very good for me, right? There'd be plenty of times in university where I didn't want to study in that moment, or there was an assignment that I was like, God, this is boring. But I'm glad I did it, because then I got good grades, and then I was able to finish the class, and then I was able to take the next level of the class. You know what I mean? So there's just this, I'd give yourself space to question some of the beliefs that we've absorbed that are not actually in our highest good. So that's what we're nurturing. So when we can give ourselves space to dream, we're giving ourselves space to allow our inner wisdom and our higher self to give us these wake-up calls. And that's going to feed our rebirth. And again, IWAS, paradox, don't be afraid to look at things very differently. Challenge yourself. Challenge what you've been told you must accept. Why? Connect to your inner wisdom so you can connect with truth instead of just conditioning and regurgitation. Oh, I love this reading. Okay, so now what is the beautiful, bright future you create if you embrace all this moon magic? Okay, you get Temperance. There it is. Oh, there it is. The Knight of Cups. Smoochy, smoochy. Okay. And then the rune is Lagus. Okay. So Temperance, here we go. Temperance is flow. Temperance is strongly associated with alchemy. So alchemy being the art and science that turns lead into gold. Because it is an art and a science, I read apparently alchemists wouldn't view an alchemical project as being successful unless it was both the material and the spirit of the alchemist that was alchemized. Like transformation must occur, not just in the material, it must occur in the spiritual. So this is a sign that through this you are going through a process of alchemy. Viewing lead, that which weighs us down, is heavy and obscures our truth, goes through a transformation and becomes gold. And gold can be our purpose, our honest gifts, our light, our truth, and a sense of lightness and clarity. So Temperance suggests that this is an alchemical path for you. So you are going to be taking that 10 of Wands heaviness and turning it into your Queen of Wands light. Temperance is also a message of flow. So we're not trying really hard. We're not forcing, but we're not avoiding. So there's this sense of going with the river of life. It's also a card of healing and of balancing the material and the spiritual. So this is showing healing, alchemization, successful, and also a sense of flow instead of force or avoidance, and embracing that spirit is literally in everything. So you're not just like spiritual when you sit down to like light a candle and meditate. The trees have a spirit, right? You are a spirit. You're human in spirit, your ego and higher self. And here is where they are coming together to work as a whole, as one. Gorgeous. And the Knight of Cups is like romance, poetry, passion. We're doing it for the love. We're on a mission of love. Knights are on quests. This is a quest of love, of spirituality, of connection. So while the Knights can be kind of extreme in their pendulum swings, so like the Knight of Cups can be this person who loves poetry and they let beauty drive them and they're intuitive and their heart's on their sleeve. On more shadow side of the Knight of Cups can be kind of like an emotional, they're emotionally immature, so they can perhaps be a bit of a love bomber, more interested in love, right? The idea of love than love itself. So there's always that possibility with the Knights and their kind of extremes. So you're going to rely on your intuition to let you know what that is. For me, the sense I get here is because we're releasing such a heavy, just like productivity and work, and I have to do it all on my own, belief, that means that if we're welcoming in the Knight of Cups, we're leaning more into the importance of following the call of our souls, even if it's not logical or immediately like profitable, but understanding that like, too much of that, just profitable, can weigh us down so much. So we have healing and harmony. And we also have love and beauty, romance and poetry. So life gets a lot sweeter. Really cool. And then Lagos is the rune of the ocean. So it's the rune of the water. So it suggests creating more depth in your life. And we cannot really have depth if we just do, right? So we are creating more depth. We are trusting our intuition more. That's a big part with Lagos. And because we go deeper into ourselves, we have more inner wisdom. The line of Lagos from the Old English rune poem kind of talks about how we fear the sea because we cannot control it. But in this case, with the flow of temperance and following our passions, we're going to let go of the illusion of control. So we're going to do what we need to do. We need to take action, but we're also going to allow room for intuition and creativity and just like more allowing. Okay, my friends, my screen just went quiet. Sorry, I had to type in. Okay, my friends, thank you so much for being here. I hope this was helpful. Wishing you all a wonderful full moon. I am offering Etsy tarot readings. So these are pre-recorded readings. I either do a video recording like this and send it to you, or I do a written reading so you can read it. And I do have my one-on-one shamanic healing services, which are available through my booking site, as well as tarot mentorship to really help you grow as a reader, which helps you grow as a person and a spirit. And those are all in the links below. Okay, my friends, wishing you all a wonderful and magical full moon. Thank you for being here. Take care.